what is EOS, right? So it's the entrepreneurial operating system. It's not a software system, but it's an approach to get everything from your business. So it's about a complete system for your business with a set of practical, simple tools to run a better business. So that's what EOS is. And we do actually today 3 things. So we want to talk a bit about ourselves, so you have a big background of who we are. And then we show you the tools, simple set of tools. And the final approach is that we show you the process, how you actually can implement, how we implement EOS into the organization. And the final point, before I give the hand over to Chris, is that we actually, in the simplified version, do 3 things for companies. Vision, that means clarity of vision, where are we going? Traction, that means accountability and discipline to get ahead and to make actually things happen, to get stuff done. And healthy is what we have heard today multiple times. It's really, really important to build a healthy, cohesive and functional organization. So the 3 pillars that you will get if you implement EOS into your business. So Chris, can you start off with telling a bit about yourself?
Hi there guys. Okay, so I'm Chris Goldman. From the accent you can hear I'm from the colonies. I was born and bred in South Africa, joined the South African Air Force. I was a helicopter pilot, and there I learned how to work in really seriously functional teams. So we literally, our lives depended on each other. Long story short, left the Air Force, wasn't really interested in going into the airlines, so I joined the family business, and that's where the wheels came off. So the first thing I found out is that civilian life is not what it's made out to be. There's no accountability. Any accountability was rested on the family members who ran the business, and that roles and definitions of roles in the organization were very, very, very vague and fuzzy, and to the point that it caused a major clash between me and my brother. So what ultimately happened is he threw a book at me, and the book was called Traction. So he said, I know what the problem is. The problem is I'm a visionary and you're an implementer. And I went, an integrator, sorry. And I went, no, I'm the older brother. I'll tell you who's who in this family business. The bottom line is he was spot on the money. This system changed our business, changed my life. I became a happier person, and I worked my way out of the business to really be happy to do this and come and do this with really entrepreneurial functional teams and help you guys build your businesses.
What our observations are, as you see here, those 10 companies on a row, these are just 2 examples of frustrations in organizations, right? So, and if you have 10 companies in a row, our observation is that 7 are frustrated. Could be frustrated with not enough money, or hitting the ceiling, what I had, or people issues. That's a big one. So you see 7 are actually frustrated. 2 of the 10 are doing pretty okay, not excellent, but okay. And actually 1 out of the 10 is doing great. So then you can become obsessed about what is it that makes this 1 really great. How do you become great and run a great business? So why is that? So Chris, for you, next step.
Okay, so as business leaders and managers and entrepreneurs, we've got 150 things coming at us all the time. And in as much as you can package these things into 6 key components with your business in the center of this key component, you will be able to master your business, and you'll be able to get a better grip on your business. So if we take a quick pass over this, the first key component that we're going to look at is the vision component. And that's very simply, where are we taking this beast? Where's this organization going? The second key component that we're going to look at is a people component, because without the right people, and right people is the right people for your organization, how are you going to achieve this vision? So we're going to have a look at that and see, how do we get the right people in this organization? And then the third of the key components is the data component. So, you know, in entrepreneurial organizations, it's all iffy and feely. Oh, well, we should, maybe no, we're going to boil this organization down into hard data, and we're going to work with that data. And that's the third key component.
Yeah, so you see them here, vision, right, people and data. So those are the three. What is it really interesting if you already in an organization strengthen your vision component, people component, and data component, the organization starts to become more transparent, right? So transparency leads that people are more and more able or excited to actually bring their issues. That's really important, and that's why the fourth component is what we call the issues component. And in that issues component, in strengthening it, you become better and better at solving your issues, obstacles, opportunities, we call them issues, because it's in direct relation, the ability to work through your issues instead of pushing them at the end of the week is your ability to actually achieve your vision. So the fourth component is the issues component. Then the fifth one is about process, and that's about systemizing the business and getting consistency in your business. And the final one of the six is what we call the traction component, and that's often the weakest link or the weakest part in businesses, and that's about the discipline and accountability to really get stuff done, to get things done. And together, so those six together are what we call the EOS model, and the aim for it and what we are talking about today is the 100% version of how you can strengthen it to 100% strong in every of those six components. But that is utopia. You'll probably never get to the 100%, but if you can work it, it is really, really doable to get to 80% or better. So that's the journey then. The journey becomes, if you want to really be a great company and get everything you want from your business, is to strengthen just those six key components in your business. That is what the journey becomes when you start there. And you see most organizations are operating at only 20 or 40%. So much more to gain if you strengthen those six parts. So now we go back through it again, because now you will know a bit about the overview and a little bit more detail. So to show to you the exact tools, what are the tools to strengthen each of those six? Is that all right? All right.
Okay, so guys, the first tool that we're going to share with you comes out of the vision component. You've got these in your goodies bag. So I'd really like you to take this out, and I'm going to walk you through this very, very quickly. Well, hopefully very quickly, because time is of the essence. So, okay, while you're getting those out, now I'm going to let you do that. Right, so what I want you to do is I want you to hold it up. I want you to open it up onto the A3 side like this, and then I want you to fold it backwards. I'm sure we can all get that one right. And then what I want you to do is have a look at the vision side. So we're going to discuss the vision side first, okay? So on the vision side, so the vision component is made up of two things. The first one is this tool. So we're all familiar with the term core values. Somebody used them just now, the previous speaker used them just now. Guys, core values are so important. Core values are what define you as an organization. But the thing is don't go and clutch them from somewhere. The core value must come out of your organization. So we take you on an exercise to actually find what exists in your organization, because actually each organization's values are different and they exist there, so we're just going to help you pull those out. And this is what is going to develop your culture. This is what is going to define the behavior of your organization. This is how you're going to hire and fire people. So the next of the questions is what is your core focus? What's your purpose, your cause, your passion? And finally, what's your niche or your why? So your purpose, cause, and passion is what turns you on as an organization. Why do you get up in the morning to come to work? And as an organization, so that's what and we want you to laser focus on this. We don't want you to go off on tangents. We want you just to get really down to the core and look at this and really look at this in depth and understand what you do. The third of the questions is, what's the big picture? What's the 10-year target? Where are we taking this organization? So Jim Collins called it the big, hairy, audacious goal. You know, where are we going? A BHAG. Where is this thing going, and why should I be a part of this? So this means something to the people in your organization. Then we're going to move on to something called what we call the marketing strategy. So this is not some big, long document, excuse us, all the marketeers out there and all the things we've heard, but we look at this and we go, right guys, so this is a strategy. So who do we want to sell our product to? So we're going to develop this list of actually who is our ideal client. And then we're going to look at something else. We're going to look at who are they, where are they, and how do they want to be spoken to. And then we're going to have a look at, you see there, we've got 3 uniques. We're going to find what are your 3 uniques as an organization, that when your sales guys are sitting in front of this ideal client, your sales guys can pitch these 3 and your client just doesn't have anywhere to go. These are the things that this is why he's got to be with you. Then we're going to look at a proven process, and I'm going to share ours with you a little bit later. But this proven process is a visual sheet showing you how you get on board with us and how we're going to take you through and re-engage with you. So that's what our proven process is. And then we're going to add something that terrifies most people, but believe me, it's one of the most powerful things that you as a salesperson can have, and that we're going to try and work out what is your guarantee. So for example, our guarantee is if we do a session with you and you say, well, Chris, you know what, got no value of that, that's great, I'll walk away. I don't need you to pay me. And the only thing we've lost is 2 days. So it keeps me on my toes, it keeps your company on their toes, and it's just a really, really powerful tool to have. So then the next of the questions is very simply, what's your 3-year picture? Now, this is not a 700-page document about where this company's going that nobody's ever going to read. Guys, it's this. This is it. So we're going to pin a date. We're going to pin a revenue. We're going to have a look at what kind of profit we want. And we're going to have a look at what kind of measurables do we need in this organization that we know when we get there. And then we spoke about visualizing earlier on. Then we're going to paint this picture in a couple, like 20 bullet points. And I'm going to get your leadership team to sit down, close their eyes, and be there on that date. Whatever the date is we've pinned here. I want you to see it. I want you to be there. I want you to feel it. I want you to smell it. I want you to hear it. I want you to know what's going on in your organization. And that's how we're going to get there. So that takes care of the vision side. Now, if we flip that over, we get to the traction side. This is where we start to put tarmac onto the rubber onto the tarmac. So we now have a look at our 1-year plan. Again, pinning a date and a revenue, a profit, and some measurables. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 to 7 things that are really important for you to achieve in the next year. So not 23 things, because when everything's important, nothing's important. So what we want to do is we want to teach you guys how to do less better. How does that sound? Your people are going to love that. We're going to do less better. So we're going to have a look at that, and we're going to see how we're going to tackle that. So we're going to bring this whole thing down, and we're going to have a 1-year plan as to how we're going to take this company. So if we've got a 1-year plan, we're now going to break this year up into our quarters, into these 90-day running sessions where we just go for it in 90 days, and we're going to give everybody rocks. What we call rocks. It's a goal, it's something that you have to achieve. It's something this organization needs to do in the next 90 days to achieve on its vision, to go forward. We're also going to pin a date, we're going to pin revenues, we're going to pin profits, and we're going to pin measurables. But the big thing here is we bring accountability into this organization. So what we're doing is we're also going to set eyeballs to each rock. So somebody is going to be accountable for delivery of that rock. And so that's the rocks, our 90-day world. And then the last one, or the 8th point, is it's the issues list. So there's a lot of therapy in this, because we're just going to brain dump all the problems in this organization. Everything that faces this organization, issues, opportunities, threats, anything, we're just going to brain dump it, and we're going to list it, because we're going to tackle those things one at a time at some point in our journey. And so now we've got this filled out. So we filled out the 8 questions. We know who we are and we know where we're going. The big thing is this is not some closely guarded secret that we're going to put in a safe somewhere, guys. The magic of this is when we share this with the whole organization, so that every single person knows where we're taking this business. And they now become an active part of this business. Imagine that. Imagine if you all knew the goal of your business. Right, we're going there, guys, and I'm a part of taking us there. How powerful is that? And what does that do to your team? So the second point under the vision component is we're going to share this with everybody. And that, guys, is the vision component.
All right. That's great. So we go to the second component then. And the second component is the people component. And there are 2 tools there to strengthen this people component. And it's actually really simple. It is the right people in the right seats, right? Jim Collins made it really famous. It sounds really simple, but it's hard work because the people component is one of the most difficult components to get right. So first, right people. So what is right people? Right people is that you have the people in your organization that resonate completely with the core values that we just talked about in the Vision Traction Organizer. So the right people are the people who are a perfect match and don't have to work for alignment with values because they are the values. It's who they are. So, and that's really important to get only the right people in the organization. So someone said today, the people are the most important assets, but it's actually the right people are the most important assets for the organization. And the second one I have to draw a little bit, and that's the right seat. So first of all, we have to then in the organization look at what the organization does and then organize the organization by function. So we start what we saw also today in another sheet from someone, I guess with the inside. We simply start by drawing this really familiar picture that everybody knows, right? That you organize the organization by function. And a minute or so ago, we saw gain sites mentioning the silos. Remember that? With the marketing, sales, and the operations and the finance. And what we do here is not organizing in silos, but we organize these, what we call seats, clearly by function in the organization. So this is marketing, sales, for example. This is the ops, and this is the finance. And we actually make sure that the accountability for every of those seats is crystal clear. And that actually has nothing to do with silos, because accountability makes that the flow, especially what we saw with the customer journey or getting things done, that the flow is there and everyone takes their own accountability in making that whole flow work. So that's accountability chart, and we focus then on what are the 5 most important roles / responsibilities to make that seat work, and to that the person who owns that seat really can deliver that function of the business. It has nothing to do with organizational chart that you're probably familiar with. So it doesn't tell you anything how the organization is organized, but it actually just shows you who is accountable for exactly what. And that is what the organizations of now and in the future will be successful because of that. Accountability is the key. We see also here another seat, and that's what we call the integrator. So there must be someone who integrates those functions, and it could be 3, could be 5, could be 8, but there must be someone whose accountability it is to integrate these fine functions into one whole, right? That's why we call it the integrator. Also to move away from all the fancy terms like vice president or CEO or whatever it is. It is someone who integrates the business into one singular whole. So that's the integrator. And then finally, we have, in most cases of organizations, you have this person called the visionary. And the visionary is a person with a lot of ideas, really great. Maybe 90 ideas are not so great in the week, but one is great. And the combination of the visionary integrator makes that the organization can grow to almost any level. And if the visionary is pushed into the role of the integrator, that the visionary is a real visionary with lots of ideas, but pushing the integrator role, it doesn't feel right for the visionary. So it's also a big part of what we do is free up the visionary into his or her rightful seat, so you can actually free up the organization. Right seat then means if we have the structure right first, so the approach is structure first and then the people. Never organize your organization around people. Structure first and then find who are the great people we have that actually can take accountability and do this really well, and referring to the brilliance, right? So that the people who do this really love it and it's their unique ability, that's their God-given talent that they can do that. And then you get the right people into the right seat. And once you get there, that is awesome power, what you establish there in the organization. So let's go back to the next step is the data component. Okay, guys, so the data component is data. We had this discussion earlier on colonies, Americanisms, anyway. So your data component is most organizations, most entrepreneurial organizations are really run by feeling and sentiment, and they're not driven by hard
data. So what we want to do in the data component is we really want to pin this organization down to what numbers are important to your leadership team so that they have a real pulse on how this business is doing. So we're going to go in there and we're going to look at 5 to 15 numbers that are seriously high-level numbers that can really tell you how your business is doing. And that's called a scorecard. So we're going to develop the scorecard. We're going to add the measurable. We're going to set some eyeballs to this as well, because now we're going to bring some more accountability into this organization. So somebody's accountable for the number. And then we're going to make sure that we can look at this 13 weeks at a trot so that we can see trends and what is actually going on in this organization. So this is just a tool that is firstly going to tell us how we're doing. Secondly, it's going to show up trends in the organization. It's going to show, where we have a problem, where we don't have a problem, where we need to put some focus. So that is the scorecard. The second point under the data side is that we're going to allocate measurables to every single person in the organization. So this obsession with data gets filtered down through the organization, and ultimately every single person in the organization is going to be responsible for 1, 2, or 3 numbers. And those numbers are then going to go onto the accountability chart. So we all know who does what and where they are. And that's the third key component, the data component. Alex.
All right. So, and what we talked about earlier, if we strengthen vision, people, and data, you already are building a great company, right? Because it becomes more and more transparent, where most companies are not so transparent. So that's the gain that you already create if you have those 3 strong. It's not the order that you do it, because you work on all the parts simultaneously, actually, but that's the key insight that already those 3 really help you move forward. So let's go to the next one, and that's what we call the issues component. And those have 2 clear steps as well, so I'll put them up. So the first, it's more discipline. So the first in the issues component is what we call the issues list. It's actually a discipline to have in your leadership team, and actually every team, that you have one list, right? Could be electronically, could be on paper, doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you have one place where you collect all your issues. Could be big, could be small. So and an issue is anything that's an obstacle, any opportunity, any idea, anything that you need to solve. That's an issue. And if you have that discipline established, then you can do something that we call IDS. And that's just an approach where you take one issue. So you have your list here, and you say in order for priority, what is 1, what is 2, and what is number 3. So there's some psychology behind that, but you just say, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2, and let's say this is number 3. And then you pick number 1 and you say, okay, this is the issue. Let's identify what it is first. Identify clearly what it is first. And the key there is to go to the root of it, to simplify what it is. What do we need to solve? And if everybody is clear, oh, that is the issue. We have identified that's what we're working for, that's what we need to solve. Only then go to discussions, because most teams just dive into the discussion and discuss the heck out of an issue. So then discuss, and at some point in time you will see that the team starts repeating themselves, or you hear things all over again, and then it's for the leader of the team, the point that they say, okay guys, now we have discussed enough. And in most cases, 95% of the case, the answers are in the room. What is the next step? How can we solve this? A resolve or a solve, but what is the first step to move us forward? It's not that every issue you can move them in one step that's all done and completed and out of your life, but it's what is the first step to make progress? Because everything is focused on progress, not perfection. And if you master this discipline, the list and doing IDS everywhere, you become better and better at actually solving your issues, getting them out of your life, and as a result you come closer and closer to achieving your vision. Because you have a vision, it's only the obstacles that are in your way that you have to work on. And that's why the issues component is really important, and that's, in those 2 disciplines, that's issues component. Chris? Okay,
so the 5th key component is the process component. Now, most companies are really weak at this. So all companies have got a handful of key components, 6 to 10 key components that make up that organization. So you have an HR component, you have sales and marketing, you have an operations, maybe 1 or 2, you have a finance, and then you have a customer service. So what we do in this is we adopt a very, very entrepreneurial approach here. And we try and document the 20% of each one of our processes that gives us 80% of the result. So we're going to end up with a document that is your specific business. It is very specific to your processes. We're going to then, this makes your organization more scalable. It makes your organization more clear. It defines things better. You don't spend your life doing the same thing over and over in different ways. There's one way of doing it. And it's just going to impact on the bottom line, guys, because you're scalable and you're profitable because you are not reinventing things that you've already done. So that's it, and we just go and we just have a look and we just take that organization and we document your core processes. And then once we've got this documented, the beauty of this comes in where it must be followed by all. So when somebody comes into this organization, it's very easy. You just give them your way of doing things. There's the document. Have a look at it, learn it, know what's in there, understand it, and you're gonna start to take complexity out of this organization. You're going to start to make this organization a fun place to operate in. And that, people, is the 5th component, the process component.
So, all right, great. So, process component also, I like this great quote about process component. It's if you systemize what is repeatable in your company or organization, you can humanize what is exceptional. So that's a great quote that actually says it all, because we touched on that today, that the companies that become more and more on the human side, those are the companies that become more and more successful, right? And that's exactly this. So it's exactly that you actually free up the human potential of people and systemize what is repeatable by systems or other things. So that's exactly what the process component is all about. Then the final one, number 6, that is the traction component. Often the weakest part. It has 2 parts. The first part is what we call rocks. Stephen Covey made that really famous. And a rock is just a 90-day priority. So that's a rock. And the second part is meetings. So back to the rocks, it is of real importance that everyone in the leadership team defines for the company the 3 to 7 most important rocks. We saw them in the Vision Traction Organizer. So what are your 3 to 7 most important priorities for the next 90 days? And the 90 days just comes from, it's a human thing. 90-day world, operate in a 90-day world, that is actually a human thing that works best for people. So we call them rocks, and eventually everyone in the organization has 1 or more rocks. Not 7, because that makes it really complex, but eventually everybody in the organization has their own priorities for what they can help, or how they can help move the company forward towards the vision in their priority for the next 90 days. And then the second part is meetings. So meetings are actually on 3 levels. The weekly meeting, what we call level 10 meeting. There's a distinct agenda for that, so we don't go into that now. So that's weekly. The other rhythm is, of course, the 90-day rhythm, so quarterly, and of course once a year. Once a year you have to set out the annual rhythm where you look ahead for the next year, plan that next year ahead. So meetings is a pulse, and you have to find your right pulse. What's the right pulse for your business, your organization, weekly, quarterly, annually. And that actually brings all those moving parts together, like scorecards, rocks, how are you doing. So it's reporting, accountability, and issue solving that are actually brought into meetings. And those meetings are world-class meetings as opposed to energy-sucking meetings. And that is traction. So that's the final part of it. And if you have that all, so the journey, again, is to strengthen all those 6. And then the result come back to the picture of the 10 companies. If you really strengthen all those 6 components, you get closer and closer to the one who is great. Because actually the real great companies, if you look at them and study the real great companies in the world, they are strong in all those 6 key components. And now let's set up the process, and I want to show you one more thing before we go into process that is hopefully helpful for your perspective. So if you have something like this that I always call the river, at the bottom side is what we talked about, frustrated or okay organization. So it's a situation that companies are in, and of course most want to be this great company enjoying what they want or having closer and closer to the vision. So the question then becomes, if you are here or somewhere here, how do you actually cross that river and go to the other side, become great? We saw that with the model, so the model will help you, but what is the process? How do you actually do that? And that's the final part of our presentation today. So what's the process of getting from here to here? Chris.
God, so earlier on I spoke to you about a proven process, and it's just a visualization of what's going to happen to you. You're going to join this organization, and how are we going to take you through this? So you already know where you're going, and our proven process is quite simply, we start off with a 90-minute meeting. This is a very short version of the 90-minute meeting, but we just find out if there's a fit. So we find out a little bit about you, we tell you a little bit about ourselves, and then we tell you about the tools, and we show you what the journey would look like. And we explain over there that actually when you commit to this, guys, this is not some management fad that you can take on for a couple of months. This is a way of life. This is a journey, and we want absolutely 24 months out of you commitment to this journey. So we establish that there's a fit. We then move on to the focus day, and in the focus day we have a look at a couple of things. So we have a look at the first thing, which is hitting the ceiling, and this is just a phenomenon that you're going to go through. We're going to teach you how to break through that ceiling every single time, and then we have a look at the first hit it at your accountability chart. So we're going to take this organization, we're going to start building your accountability chart. Once we've got that down, we're going to have a look at what is your 90-day world? What are the most important things you as a leadership team need to do in the next 90 days? So we're going to establish what rocks you've got, and we're going to teach you how to have a world-class meeting. And I'll challenge you, because I'll tell you that you will look forward to this meeting, and you can ask any of the Access Planet guys. They love going to meetings because you're going to solve stuff at these meetings. It's not going to be nonsense. It's that IDS side that we showed you there. So we're going to teach you how to have this awesome meeting that you guys start looking forward to. And then we're going to take a first cut at the scorecard. So that day is going to be about 6 to 8 hours together. And then 30 days later, because this is a spaced learning system, we're going to go to Vision Building Day 1. So the first part of Vision Building Day 1 is we're going to help you with all the mistakes you made from Focus Day. So we're just going to recap that stuff. We're going to get you guys back on the same page, get you guys operating again. And then we're going to start answering the questions that we had here in the VTO. And we're going to start and we're going to look at them. And as we go along, so where we end up on Vision Building Day 1 is where we end up. So we're going to have a look at your core values, your core focus, your 10-year target, and your marketing strategy if we get that far. So that's how we're going to do that day. Then 30 days later, we come back for Vision Building Day 2. The first part of the day is again spent looking at now Vision Building Day 1 and Focus Day to see how you guys are doing, because it sounds simple, people, but it's very, very difficult, and you've just got to bash at it to get it right. And then we're going to finish up with your Vision Traction Organizer, and then we're going to go into execution mode. So execution mode means we're now going to come back and do quarterlies with you and a 2-day annual. So in each one of the quarterlies, we're going to share a new tool with you. And then in the annual, we're really going to boil this organization down, and we're going to start looking at, and somebody mentioned it, and I can't remember if it was the last guy or if it was Kev that mentioned it, but we're really going to have a look at team health. And how do you guys operate as a team?